Welcome to Istanbul.
The city between Europe and Asia. Istanbul, aka not the capital of Turkey, is the only city in the world to straddle two continents. In this video, we're going to focus on that peninsula in the center of your screen right now, the historic district of Old Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople. It's also the city of cats, 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 and more cats. For Aziz and his friends. Little cat house. Adorable. First up is the Hagia Sophia Mosque. I've also heard it called the Hagia Sophia and the Hagia Sophia. I'm sure it just depends on the language that you're using. We recommend hiring a tour guide. They're hanging out in front of the mosque. They're all licensed. They wear badges, and they all have to take an official government tourism test. So they're all legit. And they can tell you everything you want to know about Hagia Sophia. In the summer, there's lines of up to 2 hours to get in. Since it's an official functioning mosque, women have to cover their heads, shoulders, and legs. Men don't go in there with tank tops, but you can wear shorts. Welcome to the Hagia Sophia Mosque in Sultanahmet, the historical district of Istanbul. This is the place to come. If you only have 1 hour in Istanbul, get here and check it out. It's very cool. The history of this mosque is amazing. It is a mosque, so come here dressed for respect. There's a lot of history here. It was an Eastern Orthodox. Take a look at the woman over my left shoulder. It looks like she's wearing a garbage bag. That is what you can buy if you forget your scarf as a woman. You can buy them right there in front of the mosque. They're like 25 cents US. But the trade-off is that you look like that in all of your photos. Church for 916 years. After that, it was a mosque for 481 years. It was made a museum officially by the Turkish state in 1935, and then it became a mosque again in 2020. So again, it is officially a mosque. There are religious services here. The first version of Hagia Sophia was made during the reign of the Emperor Constantine in the 4th century AD. That burned down. The second version of the Hagia Sophia was remade, opened in 415 by the Emperor Theodosius II, the Byzantine emperor. That also burned down in the Nika Rebellion. And the version of the Hagia Sophia that we're seeing today was constructed in the year 532, the same year that the second iteration burned down. It was started in December 532, finished in December of 537. So there you go, a brief history of the Hagia Sophia. Nowadays, you can still see kind of remnants of Christianity. There's still some Christian religious paintings in some parts of the mosque, but for the most part, those have been removed or covered. And what you can see now is a lot of Islamic religious writings on the walls. So let's check those out. Right across from the Hagia Sophia, literally about 3 minutes walk away, is the Blue Mosque. There's more cats, of course. Behind me is the Blue Mosque. This was constructed between the years 1609 and 1617. I've heard a couple of different dates for when it was completed. And it's called the Blue Mosque because it's filled with around 20,000 ceramic blue tiles on the inside. It's very ornately decorated. And unfortunately right now, it's undergoing a lot of renovation. And it's been under renovation for a while. 2 years ago we were here and it was also renovated. So unfortunately at this moment, a lot of the blue ceramic tiles have been covered. But it's definitely one of the most famous mosques in the Islamic world. It's the only mosque to be built with 6 minarets. So that's another little historical fact. Again, this is also a functioning mosque, so same rules of dress and behavior apply from Hagia Sophia. The Hippodrome is right next to the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia in the historic district. You can still see the elongated oval shape of the racetrack. That's what a hippodrome was, a racetrack where chariots and horses used to race. I really like this part of Sultanahmet because there's a couple of hidden gems here, which I'll get into right now. We're here in the Hippodrome, the old Hippodrome, and behind me you can see this Egyptian obelisk. It's from the year 1450 BC. It was erected by Thutmose III in honor of his father at Karnak, and that's what it says in hieroglyphs there behind me. You can see that the hieroglyphs are extremely precise and clear-cut. It looks like a laser did it, but those are the original carvings from 1450 BC. This obelisk was moved from Egypt to Rome, and then Constantine the Great declared that he wanted it brought here to what was known at the time as Constantinople. And for whatever reason, it took a while to get here. It was delayed. I mean, it looks pretty heavy to me, so maybe bringing it by ship and land took a while. But at any rate, it wasn't put up until the reign of Theodosius. This is one of the cooler parts of Istanbul that I've ever seen. An ancient Egyptian obelisk. It's a real testimony to the interconnectedness of the Mediterranean at the time. It was made in Egypt, then brought to Rome, then from Rome brought to Constantinople, as all of these different civilizations interacted with each other. So, pretty cool. More cats. Okay, behind me is another interesting part of the Hippodrome here. We already saw that obelisk, the Egyptian obelisk, but in the foreground here, between me and the obelisk, is this spiral monument, and that is the Serpent Column. Basically what it was a bronze statue of intertwined serpents with heads coming out at the top. This monument was actually brought to Constantinople from the Temple of Apollo at Delphi in Greece. And they say that it was built from the melted down bronze shields of the Persian warriors that were defeated in the, I guess it was the Second Persian War, in the battles of Salamis and Plataea, which is what put an end to the Persian invasion of Greece in 479, 480 BC. The Greeks took all the spoils of war and they made this column to commemorate the victory. And later it was brought here to Constantinople from Greece, from Delphi. And they don't know at what point the heads of the snakes came off, but what we see here is that. Another interesting cross-cultural transplant from the Mediterranean world. Behind me is the Byzantine cistern, the old cistern. Unfortunately, the cistern is closed at the moment for restoration, but I've been down there before. It's definitely worth the entrance fee. I can't tell you how much it is nowadays, but there's some pretty interesting stuff. It's a massive underground water cistern, and it was built from kind of recycled parts from Greek and Roman monuments. So there's a couple of like Medusa head statues with columns being used to support the structure. it's definitely worth it. It's kind of close to the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque and Topkapi Palace. It's in that very same area. It's like 2 minutes walking from Hagia Sophia. So if you've got the time, the cistern is a really cool thing to see. This little white stone doesn't look like much, but it's actually the Million Stone. A couple of thousand years ago, people thought of Constantinople as the center of the world. And the center of the center was this stone, the Million Stone. It marked the beginning of the road from Asia to Europe. And it's called the Million Stone, not because of 1,000,000 like a million, but because it marked the starting point of the first mile from Asia to Europe.
Next, we're going to go to the Grand Bazaar, so you'll go down that street from Hagia Sophia in the direction that that train is headed. And when you see this column of Constantine, you're basically at the Grand Bazaar. This massive complex of markets and shops was commissioned in 1453 by Mehmet the Conqueror because, of course, Istanbul is a major crossroads where a lot of commerce has always passed through. There's tons of cats, of course. You could spend definitely a whole afternoon just walking around exploring the different shops. There's tons of really good restaurants between the Grand Bazaar and the Hagia Sophia. More cats. And highly Instagrammable architecture. We didn't go into Topkapi Palace on this trip, but when you go in, set aside a whole afternoon to explore the palace. Ruins of the military walls that once protected Constantinople for centuries are still visible all over the city.
We're at the inland part of the peninsula that forms old, historic Constantinople / Istanbul. And behind me you can see what's left of the military wall and fortifications that once surrounded this ancient city. Remember that Constantinople was the center of the world, and it's the crossroads between East and West, Asia and Europe. Since the first days that it was inhabited, people knew it was a strategic global center that would be fought over, and it was besieged dozens of times throughout the centuries. These mighty walls behind me were marvels of military engineering, and they never fell. Even when Constantinople was sacked in the Fourth Crusade in 1204, it was mostly through betrayal and usurpation that the Latin Crusaders were able to enter and sack the city and its Greek population. So these walls held fast until 1453. If you're not into history and there's only one date you can memorize, remember the year 1453. The Ottoman Turks arrived here. They besieged the Greek Orthodox inhabitants of this city. This was the last stronghold of the dying Byzantine Empire. And for 7 weeks, these walls held up to the Ottoman siege machine. The Ottomans even had a revolutionary piece of military technology that had never been used in a European battlefield, which was the cannon. And it was the cannon that finally brought down these walls. After 7 weeks of siege, the primitive cannon, which took 2 hours to load, was able to finally batter these walls, and the Ottoman army was finally able to enter the city, and it became the capital of the young Ottoman Empire.
The Egyptian Bazaar is much, much smaller than the Grand Bazaar, but it's definitely got tons of cool things worth checking out. It's in the Eminönü area next to Galata Bridge, which I'll talk about later on.
Okay, this is the Egyptian market, also known as the spice market. It was called the Egyptian market because a lot of the products came from Egypt back in the day. It was opened, it was constructed 1663, 1664. Obviously, Istanbul is the crossroads between Europe and Asia. So it's a good idea to have a lot of markets here. That's why there's so many in the city.
Eminönü is the seaport on the southern end of the Galata Bridge. It's where you can get ferries to the Asian side of the city. So on the left, you can see Galata Bridge coming into view. There's a lot of good fish restaurants on those golden boats where they pull the fish right out of the water and then cook it and serve it to you. And this is the view from Galata Bridge looking towards Eminönü. Galata Bridge will take us into the Beyoglu area, which is our next video. So definitely stand by for that next video, but now let's look at some traveler tips.
This is the Istanbul card. If you're going to move around a lot in Istanbul, this card works on ferries, buses, trains, and the subway. So it's good to get one of these. You can buy them in machines at the ferry ports, at a lot of the bus stations, and in some little shops you can buy these and you can top them up on the machines. You can't pay in cash, so you really should buy one of these if you're going to be in Istanbul for more than a few days and you plan on going across the city, especially to the Asian side or to the other side of the river.
Here's one of the machines where you can buy a card and top it up. A museum pass is a great investment if you're going to be seeing a lot of museums throughout Turkey. The hop-on, hop-off bus concept is common in a lot of big cities around the world, actually. They take you around the city in just a few hours. You can get off in a lot of different spots, spend a couple hours in places that are interesting to you, and then get back on the bus later on to continue your tour.
I'm on the hop-on, hop-off bus here in Istanbul, and it's pretty cool. It's a double-decker bus, so you get a good view of the city. It's a great way to travel around the city in a short period of time, and you get these awesome free headphones, or earphones, whatever you call them. You also get some snacks, a free mask, that's always awesome. Free mask, that's so 2020. And then some snacks, which is nice. The coffee's mine from a different place, but the snacks all part of the fee. So yeah, let's take a look around the city.
So while you're riding around the city and enjoying your amazing snacks, you can listen to tons of information in a lot of different languages through those headphones. So you're getting quite an education on this tour bus as you travel around. It's great if you don't have much time to spend in Istanbul. This is a little secret gem that Erica found for, again, very Instagrammable photos and videos. It's very close to the Egyptian Bazaar. You can contact the guy who runs this place at Maho at the Sky on Instagram. So this concludes our first video about Istanbul. We're going to make another one very soon about the Beyoglu neighborhood and the Asian side of the city. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe.